Hi everyone. So today I'm going to give you a presentation on VFP, and this presentation is a part of my course that I am taking, which is 643 Cloud Computing in NJIT. So VFP is basically a virtual switch platform for host SDN in the public cloud. This paper was published by Daniel Firestone, and my name is Charmi Sharma, and I will be presenting this for you today. So let's start with the introduction. Many modern scalable cloud computing architectures rely on host networking for implementing VM network policy, and some of the policies are tunneling for virtual networks, NAT for load balancing, stateful ACLs, and QoS. The rise of public cloud workloads such as Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform has created a new scale of data center computing, with vendors regularly reporting server counts in the millions. So the problem is that these vendors not only have to provide scale and high density performance of the virtual machines to customers, but they must also provide rich network semantics such as virtual networks with customer supplied address spaces, scalable L4 load balancers, security groups and ACLs, virtual routing tables, bandwidth metering, QoS, and more. So, this policy is sufficiently complex that it often cannot economically be implemented at scale in traditional core routers. And so, what the author has proposed is that instead, a common approach has to be implemented, this policy in software on the VM hosts in the virtual switch connecting VMs to the network, which scales well with the number of servers and allows the physical network to be simple, scalable, and very fast. As this model separates a centralized control plane from a data plane on the host, it is widely considered an example of software defined networking, SDN, and it is a host based SDN. This problem is important because as a large public cloud provider, Azure has built its cloud network on host based SDN technologies, using them to implement almost all virtual networking features we offer. Much of the focus around SDN in recent years has been on building scalable and flexible network controllers and services, which is critical. Throughout this paper, they have used two motivating examples from the literature and demonstrate how VFP supports their policies and actions. The first is VL2, which can be used to create virtual networks on shared hardware using stateless tunneling between hosts. The second is Anant, a scalable layer 4 load balancer, which scales by running the load balancing NAT in the vSwitch on end hosts, leaving the inner network load balance. To understand the similarities and differences between the existing solution and proposed work, the author has considered a simple scenario requiring four host policies used for order of 1 million virtual machines in a cloud, and each policy is programmed by its own SDN controller, requires both high performance and SRIOV offload support, a VL2 style VNet, and Anand style load balancer, a stateful firewall, and predestination traffic metering for billing purposes. So the author started by evaluating this against existing solutions to demonstrate the need for a different approach. Now let's look at the difference between the existing technology and VFP. So the first difference is that OVS, which is Open vSwitch, doesn't natively support true independent multi-controller models. However, multi-controller models are required when VL2 and Anant applications are controlled separately. In Open vSwitch, tables can only be traversed in the forward direction. However, multi-controller scenarios require packets to traverse tables in the reverse direction for outbound packets as for inbounds. OVS doesn't natively support stateful actions, like NAT in its MAT model, which is required by Anant, and the firewall is stateful too. In both the cases, controllers need to operate on connections as a base primitive rather than packets. To further understand, OpenFlow provides only for a packet model. OVS recently added support for sending packets to the Linux connection tracker to enable stateful firewall, but then it's not exposed as MAT and doesn't really support NAT, which requires explicit bidirectional stateful tables. Here are a few more differences. The first one being Open vSwitch BTEP schema requires explicit tunnel interfaces to implement VL2 style VNets. However, VFP does not require explicit tunnel interfaces to implement VL2 style VNets. Open vSwitch does not allow the controller to specify its own NCAP decap actions. However, VFP supports these actions. Hardcodes a model of a VNet in the data plane rather than allowing the controller to define how the VNet works. However, in VFP, the schema requires vSwitch changes rather than policy changes. And the last one being Open vSwitch doesn't support a VL2 style directory system. OpenFlow's design lacks the scalability to support large VNets. VFP solves this by combining the schema-free MAT model with efficient asynchronous input-output exception requests that an agent can redirect to services separate from the controller. Now let's look at the VFP design. This figure shows a model of the VFP which is described in the further slides. VFP operates on top of Hyper-V's extensible switch, and we will be discussing about that too. VFP implements MATs as layers that support a multi-controller model with a programming model, and we will discuss that further. So the first part of the VFP design is filtering model. VFP filters packets in the operating system through MAT flow table policy. The filtering model has the following components. First being ports and NICs. It is a switch with multiple ports which are connected to virtual NICs. It filters the traffic. It is attached to a specific port and is based on the input inbound and outbound model. VFP implements a switch abstraction interface to abstract out different environments, and it supports both a Hyper-V switch and a filter for native hosts, which is shown in the figure. Next would be Hyper-V switch extensibility. So this includes a basic switch, vSwitch, to bridge vNICs to a physical NIC. The switch is extensible, allowing filters to forwarding extension to Hyper-V's vSwitch. It simply replaces the entire switch logic with itself. Using this model allows us to keep our policy module and virtual switching logic separate from the Hyper-V infrastructure to deliver packets to and from virtual machines, hence improving modularity and service. VFP in this mode supports Packet Direct, which allows a client to poll NIC with very low overhead. Moving on to the programming model. VFP's core programming model is based on a hierarchy of VFP objects that controllers can create and program to specify their SDN policy. The first one being ports. So VFP's policy is implemented on a per port basis. Each port has match action tables which sit on the inbound or outbound path of the port, acting as filters. Since our controllers generally want to program policy on behalf of a virtual machine or VNIC, this clean separation of ports allows controllers to independently manage policy on different VMs. Moving on to the next one is the layers. VFP divides a port's policy into layers. Layers are the basic match action tables that controllers use to specify their policy. They can be created and managed separately by different controllers, or one controller can create separate layers. Moving on to rules. Rules are the entities that perform actions on matching packets in the MAT model. These rules allow the controller to be as expressive as possible while minimizing fixed policy in the data plane. Rules are made up of two parts: a condition list, specified via a list of conditions, and an action. Next would be groups. Rules on a layer are organized into logical groups for management purposes. Groups are the atomic unit of policy in VFP, and clients can transactionally update them. When classifying packets, VFP iterates through groups in a layer to find the highest priority rule in each group that match the packet. In addition to priority based matching, individual groups can be longest prefix matching on a condition type, for example, destination IP, to support routing scenarios. This is implemented as a compressed tree. Next would be resources. METs are a good model for programming general networking policy, but on their own aren't optimal for every scenario, especially the ones with exception events. VNet requires a CPA lookup on outbound traffic. Another example is a range list, which can implement a dynamic source entity rule of the form described in Anant. Some of the parts that we will be discussing about resources are event handling, lookups. Next part of VFP is packet processor and flow compiler. And as he scaled production deployments of VFP and SDN became more widely used, it became necessary to write a new VFP data path for improved performance and scalability across many rules and layers. His work to improve performance without losing the flexibility and programmability of VFP API is described with a metadata pipeline model, and some of the components of this model are unified flow IDs, header transpositions, transposition engine, and unified flow tables and caching. Next part of VFP would be switching model. In addition to SDN filtering, VFP also forwards traffic to ports. VFP's forwarding plane is described using packet forwarding, hairpinning and mirroring, and QoS. To talk about packet forwarding, VFP implements a simple bridge forwarding packets by destination MAC address to the port attached to the VNIC created with that MAC. Next, we will talk about operational considerations. As a production cloud service, VFP's design must take into account serviceability, monitoring, and diagnostics. So, the first would be rebootless updates. In an update, we first pause the data path and then detach VFP from the stack, uninstall VFP, install a new VFP, attach it to the stack, and restart the data path. This operation typically completes in less than 1 second and looks like a brief connectivity blip to virtual machines while NIC stays up. Next would be the state save and restore model. Because we support stateful policies such as ACLs and NAT, a rebootless VFP update by default forces virtual machines to reset all TCP connections since flow state is lost. As we see more and more frequent updates, the author concludes that he needed to build state save restore functions to eliminate impact of VFP updates to virtual machines. Next is monitoring. VFP implements over 300 performance counters and flow statistics on per port, per layer, and per rule basis, as well as extensive flow statistics. This information is continuously uploaded to a central monitoring service, providing dashboards on which we can monitor flow utilization, drops, connection resets, and more on a VM or aggregated on a clustered VNet basis. VFP also provides diagnostics for production debugging, both of VFP itself and for VFP API clients. Moving on to the hardware offloads and performance. As the author continued to scale up their cloud servers, they were very performance and cost sensitive. VFP implements several hardware offloads, such as stateless tunneling offloads, QoS offloads, and offloading VFP policy. Authors have proposed that the virtual filtering platform, a programmable virtual switch that powers Microsoft Azure, a large public cloud, and provides this policy. They have presented the design of VFP and its API, its flow language, the compiler used for flow processing, performance results, and experiences deploying and using VFP in Azure over several years. Now, the question is if this is a significant contribution. This implement tries to simplify the need of the cloud vendors to provide scale and high density performance of virtual machines to customers and provide rich network semantics that is not as expensive to implement. We already have such technologies in the market, but this paper presents the better and cost effective solution when compared to Open vSwitch. To demonstrate their work, the author have deployed 21 major release of VFP since 2012. VFP runs on all Azure servers, powering millions of virtual machines, petabits per second of traffic, and providing load balancing for exabyte of storage in hundreds of data centers in over 30 regions across the world. In addition, they have also released VFP publicly as part of Windows Server 2016 for on premises workloads. Some of the goals that the authors were able to achieve were they have had multiple independent controllers successfully program VFP for several years. New controllers have deployed SDN applications by inserting layers without changes in other controllers. Every single connection in their data centers is treated statefully by VFP. All pass through stateful ACLs and many pass through a stateful NAT. The definition of a VNet, a load balancer, and other policies have changed over time as newer, richer semantics were implemented. Most of these were policy changes without any change to VFP. They pushed dozens of rebootless updates to VFP. The introduction of UFT dramatically improved VFP's performance, especially for scenarios with large number of layers. This has helped them scale the servers to 40G plus NICs with many more virtual machines. The VFP packet classification algorithm has sped up classification on real production workloads by 1 to 2 orders of magnitude over linear search. They have successfully offloaded VFP flows to flow programmable hardware and deployed SR-IOV. In my opinion, the paper has a good structure that covers all the topics one after the other. Although they could have shared more data of their findings, the paper does not show the practical implementation in a diverse area. They were just restricted to one cloud vendor. Over 5 years of developing and supporting VFP, authors learned a number of other lessons of value, some of them being L4 flow caching is sufficient, designed for statefulness from day one, layering is critical, go to considerably is considered harmful, IaaS cannot handle downtime, design for serviceability, decouple the wire protocol from the data plane, conflict resolution was not needed, everything is in action, MTU is not a major issue. MET scale, keep forwarding simple, design from E to E monitoring, and commercial NIC hardware isn't ideal for SD. Thank you.